Amina sat at the edge of the velvet couch, staring at the man who had once promised her forever. Kola didn't flinch. In fact, he smiled wide, smug, and unbothered. "I need someone who still excites me," he said, brushing imaginary lint from his designer shirt. You're just too stable. Too boring." Amina blinked, not because she didn't hear him, but because she couldn't believe he was really saying it. After 7 years. After the miscarriages, the surgeries, the late nights building his real estate firm beside him. "So this is it?" she asked, voice low but steady. "You're leaving me for her?" Kola shrugged. "At least she still laughs at my jokes." And just like that, he walked out. No argument. No guilt. Not even a backward glance. Her world didn't crash all at once. It crumbled in slow, suffocating waves. Their wedding photos came down first. Then the keys to their joint account stopped working. And just a week after he moved out, his new lover, a 24-year-old influencer named Mimi, posted a photo in his favorite shirt, captioned, "My man feeds me and my soul." The same shirt Amina had hand-stitched when he couldn't afford labels. Still, Amina didn't scream. She didn't beg or compete. She simply folded her heartbreak like origami. Sharp, deliberate, quiet. But something was changing. Because Kola hadn't just broken her heart. He'd insulted her soul. "Too boring," he'd said. Like her loyalty had been dull. Like her sacrifices were invisible. Like her dignity was disposable. No, not this time. For 3 weeks, she disappeared from the social scene. No calls, no responses, no new posts. But behind the silence, Amina was making moves. Strategic, intentional ones. She poured herself a glass of wine one evening, pulled out her laptop, and typed a name into Google. Private investigator in Lagos. She didn't want to hurt him. She wanted the truth. The kind of truth that couldn't be silenced. The kind of truth that stuck to skin like shame. The next morning, she met a man named Mr. Odiu. Gray-bearded, sharp-eyed, and discreet. She handed him a photo of Kola. "I want to know everything," she said, sliding an envelope across the table. "Where he gets his money, who he owes, what he hides. No limits." Mr. Odiu nodded, no questions asked. Amina exhaled slowly, the first real breath in weeks. Because if Kola wanted excitement, oh, she would give it to him. But not in the way he expected. Not with tears. With headlines. And what neither of them knew yet was that his engagement party would become the scandal of the year. The city moved on as if nothing had changed, but Amina noticed everything. She watched the engagement unfold online, one soft-filtered photo at a time. Kola and Mimi posing in matching white outfits at a beach resort. Her caption read, "He said I'm his sunrise after the storm." The comments poured in like honey. Couple goals. True love wins. Upgrade. Amina just sipped her tea. She didn't block them. She didn't unfollow. She needed every post, every caption, every smile, every false version of the truth. Because she wasn't done gathering yet. Mr. Odiu worked silently in the background. Every week, he sent a sealed envelope to her P.O. box. Inside each one were whispers stitched into hard proof. The first envelope? Tax evasion. Apparently, Kola's booming real estate business had been built on sand. Fake land titles. Offshore accounts. Unpaid government duties stretching back years. The second envelope? A child. A boy. 6 years old. Hidden away in Ibadan. The result of an affair during the first year of their marriage, when Amina had thought he was just traveling for work. The third envelope? Loans. Heavy ones. The kind that don't come from banks, but from men who don't ask twice when repayment is due. Kola had borrowed millions in hush funds to fund the image of success. He used Amina's name on one of the documents. Amina's fingers trembled the day she saw that. She had been more than loyal, she'd been collateral. But she never cried. Not again. She kept a folder hidden in her bedroom closet, labeled simply, "The Wedding Gift." It grew thicker by the week. Friends started asking questions. Why had she gone quiet? Why wasn't she posting her signature poetry online? Even her mother called more than usual. But Amina just smiled. "I'm healing," she would say. And she was. But not in the way they thought. She was healing through knowledge, through control, through the slow, delicious gathering of truth. Because for 7 years, Kola had made her feel invisible. Now she was about to become unforgettable. One night, while scrolling, she saw a post from Mimi's Instagram story, a close-up of a diamond ring. Caption: "He's proposing next week. It's going to be magical." Amina's heart didn't race. It stayed perfectly still. Her eyes narrowed as she looked at the date, then at her calendar. 7 days. 1 week until the world saw them celebrate a love built on betrayal. She walked to the closet, opened the folder, and laid out the evidence like precious fabric. The tax documents, the photos of him with the hidden child, the loan agreements, the offshore accounts, the receipts. And then she whispered, "Let's give them a story worth printing." But the move she made next would change everything, not just for Kola, but for his entire kingdom of lies. The engagement venue was already trending. An exclusive island resort. Imported orchids. Gold-accented invites that read, "A love that was meant to be." Celebrities RSVP'd. Lifestyle bloggers prepped their lenses. The press had been tipped off. It was supposed to be the event of the year. And that was exactly what Amina needed. Amina wasn't interested in sabotage. Not the dramatic kind. No anonymous calls. No slash tires. No storming in to scream, "He's a liar." That wasn't her style. She wanted silence. Precision. Echoes louder than shouts. She contacted a journalist she knew Lade. They hadn't spoken in a while, but once upon a time, Amina helped edit Lade's blog during NYSC. Amina still had her number. She sent one message. "You want the biggest scandal of the year? I have it. Everything with receipts. But you publish it on their engagement day. Not before. Not after. That day. Deal?" 5 minutes later. "Deal. Send everything." And she did. Not in rage, but in perfect order. A detailed PDF with numbered attachments. Documents proving Kola's tax fraud. Screenshots of money transfers to shell companies. A copy of the birth certificate from Ibadan, with Kola's name listed as father. A hidden camera photo of him handing money to the child's mother. A legally binding loan agreement that used Amina's name as co-guarantor. Voice recordings. Oh yes, recordings of Kola mocking Mimi, calling her a temporary trophy. Late's response was 3 words. "This is gold." Then Amina sat back. She didn't flinch when Kola posted a pre-engagement teaser video on his business page. Him walking through a candlelit pathway, Mimi giggling behind him. The caption, "Biggest day of my life loading. Can't wait to make her mine forever." That night, Amina lit her candles too. But not for him. She was celebrating the last day of being forgotten. Because by morning, every blog, every gossip page, every entertainment outlet would be screaming his name. Not for love, but for scandal. She wasn't interested in proving her worth to him. She was reminding herself of it. And as she stood by the window, watching the early sunrise touch the Lagos skyline, her phone buzzed. It was Lade. "It's live. Front page. The internet is about to melt." Amina opened the link. There it was. Headline, "Exclusive. Real estate mogul Kola Adeyemi exposed. Hidden son. Tax fraud and a fiancé who may never say yes." Attached below were screenshots, videos, files irrefutable, undeniable. She didn't smile. She just closed her laptop. Because the story was no longer hers to tell. The world would do the talking now. And by the time the diamond ring touched Mimi's finger, the screams from her phone would shake the entire island. The sun shimmered over the island resort like a stage light, golden and unforgiving. Every table was dressed in ivory and blush, lined with imported orchids. Champagne chilled in glass buckets. The DJ was already playing soft Afrobeats. Guests in silk and lace drifted from palm-lined walkways to the central courtyard, where a floral arch stood tall, waiting for the perfect proposal. Mimi twirled in her custom gown, fingers fluttering over her curls. She had no idea. Inside, Kola was pacing. His phone buzzed violently in his pocket, notifications coming faster than he could read. His cousin rushed in, phone in hand, face pale. "Bro, you need to see this." Kola snatched the phone. There it was. Breaking. The wedding gift from hell. Insider spills on Kola Adeyemi's secret life. His eyes darted across the screen, the headlines multiplying like fire. Kola's hidden son in Ibadan confirmed. Tax fraud ties threaten Adeyemi properties. Exclusive voice note. She's just a trophy. Kola allegedly mocks fiancé. "No, no, no, no," he muttered, his throat tightening. Sweat beaded on his forehead. He tried to call his lawyer. No answer. His business partner went straight to voicemail. Then another buzz. It was Mimi. One new message. "Is this true?" A screenshot of his voice note attached. He ran. The guests were starting to murmur. People were already on their phones, showing each other the article. A blogger had shown up early, and her mouth dropped open mid-live stream. She spun her camera toward Kola just as he stormed into the main lawn. "Mimi!" he called, breathless. "Where's Mimi?" Too late. She was already walking away, heels in her hands, makeup running, tears streaking the glossy glow off her cheeks. She didn't scream. She didn't slap him. She just dropped the ring box into his chest and whispered, "My mother warned me about men like you." Click. A photographer captured the moment. Flash. The internet caught the fallout in real time. Within the hour, hashtag Kola the Liar was trending across Nigeria. That night, the party was cancelled. The caterers left with untouched trays. The band packed up. Influencers quietly deleted their sponsored posts. But the worst blow hadn't landed yet. Because just as Kola sat slumped in his car, trying to breathe, two black SUVs pulled up beside him. Men stepped out, silent, broad-shouldered, dressed in black. One leaned through the open window and dropped a file in his lap. "Your creditors want a word," he said. Kola opened the folder. Repayment demand, 98 million naira. Deadline, 48 hours. He looked up, but they were already walking away. The party was over, but the reckoning had just begun. And while Kola panicked and Mimi disappeared, Amina poured a glass of wine and opened her next folder. Because the story still had one more chapter. Amina didn't gloat. She didn't dance. Didn't post cryptic quotes. She didn't even tell her closest friends what she'd done. She simply sat on her balcony the next morning, sunlight warming her face, and watched Lagos hum to life. She'd spent a year being dismissed, doubted, and discarded. But now, in the silence that followed the storm, she felt something she hadn't in a long time. Peace. Kola's name was everywhere for all the wrong reasons. Blogs dissected his fake wealth. Analysts debated whether his firm would collapse. And the mother of his hidden child had spoken up, giving her own exclusive interview. But Amina? She was anonymous. Lade had honored her request. No mention of her name. No fingerprints on the story. To the world, she didn't exist. But to Kola? She was the ghost he could never outrun. Calls started coming in. Quiet ones. From former clients of his business. From two banks. Even from a politician Kola once swindled in a shady land deal. They didn't know who exposed him, but they were grateful. Justice, they said. Courage, they called it. Amina just nodded and returned to her laptop. Because while the world unraveled around Kola, she was building again. She reopened her abandoned consulting firm under a new name, Ama Strategies. Her inbox, once dusty and silent, now overflowed with women-owned startups asking for her help. They wanted the woman who had survived the fall and built something stronger from the rubble. She hadn't just survived heartbreak, she'd weaponized her wisdom. At night, she journaled, not to vent but to remember, every chapter of her journey. Every time she chose silence over chaos. Every time she chose grace over rage. She even drafted a letter to herself. You did not lose him. He lost the woman who could have built his empire with integrity. You lost nothing. You found everything. But peace has its price. One evening, as she left a strategy meeting, she saw him. Kola, standing by her car. Gaunt, unshaven, eyes sunken. She didn't pause. Amina, he called out. She turned. He stepped closer. Please, just hear me out. She didn't raise her voice, didn't curse. She simply said, now you see me? He flinched. You were right, though, she added calmly. I was too boring for your world. That's why I built my own. He opened his mouth, but she had already stepped into her car. The engine hummed to life. He stood there, small beneath the streetlight, as she drove away. She didn't look back, because what waited ahead was brighter. What she didn't know, though, was that Kola wasn't the only one watching her rise. Someone else had seen what she did, and they were about to offer her a seat at a table she never thought she'd reach. 6 months later, Amina stood before a mirrored elevator door, adjusting the delicate gold clasp on her blazer. She was about to walk into the tallest building on Victoria Island, not as someone's wife, not as a guest, but as the keynote speaker at a private equity summit. Her topic? Reputation, resilience, and the quiet power of the underestimated woman. She didn't just survive the fallout, she became a case study. It had started with one quiet investor, a woman in her 50s who had read the anonymous exposé and guessed the truth. She reached out privately and said, whatever you're building, I want in. That conversation turned into a partnership. That partnership turned into a funding round. And that funding round turned Ama Strategies into one of the fastest-growing consulting firms in West Africa, run entirely by women. Amina didn't build revenge. She built a legacy. The elevator doors opened, and she stepped into a room filled with suits, CEOs, and journalists. Her name was already glowing on the stage's digital banner. But just before she was introduced, her phone buzzed quietly in her bag. She almost didn't check it, but something told her to. A WhatsApp message. No name, just a number. You think you won, but the media forgets. They always forget. One day, the truth about you will come out too. No punctuation, no flair. Definitely Kola. She smiled, and then she typed back. I don't need the media to forget. I need them to remember I walked away with my head high, and you crawled back with your secrets exposed. Blocked. Done. She slipped her phone back into her bag and walked toward the stage, heels clicking against polished marble, the sound of power in motion. The crowd stood as she took the microphone. Good morning, she began, voice clear, calm, full of grace. Let me tell you a story. It's about a woman who was left behind. But instead of breaking, she watched. She learned. She waited. Pause. And then she rose. The room was silent, hanging on every word. And somewhere, far from the applause, a man who once thought she was boring was watching her face light up every major business blog in the country. He had destroyed their home, but she had rebuilt an empire. Not with anger, with strategy, with truth, with brilliance. And as the cameras flashed, and applause shook the hall, Amina smiled, because she hadn't just gifted him his downfall. She'd gifted herself a future, one no man could take credit for. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell. Thank you. We hope to see you in our next video.